hour. For all the details, go to askingradio.com.
Hello, my Cludy. Asking Radio is here. Tell everyone you know. The wait is over. 98.5 Speed FM.
Catch us if you can.
A speedy welcome to the show for everyone. This is Extra Speed on Asking Radio, 98.5 Speed FM Makudi, reaching you from the Spy Center, 19 and 21 Anongo Agbecha Street, Judges Quarters, Makudi. I am King James YiYE together with
Mmemshima King.
And we have a guest here. Introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm Dr. Shidali Vincent.
Right. Okay, so today, as you must have heard on the news, is International Day for Interventional Cardiology. And one of the main aims is to, bring public awareness on cardiovascular diseases. So you are not just a doctor, you are a cardiologist. It's sounding like a big name to some people, but who is a cardiologist?
Yeah, a cardiologist is a doctor who has trained specially after his basic medical education to take care of diseases related to the heart and the blood vessels.
Okay, so when we say cardiovascular diseases, people know hypertension as one. I think almost everybody has an idea of hypertension, but what are the other diseases that are related to the heart?
Like you just said, hypertension is the commonest, but there are many other conditions that the heart falls for. Yeah. Apart from hypertension, we have heart failure, a situation where the heart is unable to meet up with its role of supplying the entire body blood. Then there are conditions that have to do with the muscles of the heart. We call them cardiomyopathies. There are others that have to do with the electrical system of the heart, because the heart has its own electrical system that dictates the pace at which it works. We call that arrhythmias. There are other conditions that affect the valves. The heart has several valves within. Yes, we call those valvular heart diseases. And then there are others that affect the lining within the heart. We call it endocarditis. Then there are other conditions that may affect the heart from diseases of the body itself. So systemic diseases can also affect the heart. Then there are problems that have to do with high lipid levels. When cholesterol level is high, it can cause blockage to the blood supply to the heart. Though the heart is the one that supplies blood to the body, the heart itself needs blood. And so it has special vessels, that supplies it. And when those vessels are compromised, you discover that the heart now is unable to do its work. So we call that ischemic heart disease. And it's one of the areas that interventional cardiology plays a very important role. So ischemic heart disease is a very important aspect of cardiology, which is one of the emerging disease in third world nations like ours. It doesn't used to be our problem several decades ago, but today it is with us, and interventional cardiology is the major way out of solving problems that have to do, with ischemic heart disease.
Right. Yeah. It's Extra Speed on Asking Radio, 98.5 Speed FM, and it's Extra Speed. And so if you just join in us, don't feel it's something you cannot call to ask any question about the heart. Today is International Day for Interventional Cardiology. We have a cardiologist in the house here. So I simply call you Dr. Vincent, but you called another name.
Shidali, that's my surname.
Okay, Shidali.
Shidali. Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Vincent Shidali, he's a cardiologist, and if you are in Makudi, he has a hospital. Is it a hospital or a clinic? What's the difference? Okay, he has a clinic. It's Cardio Point, and he's a specialist. Okay, so you can call 08084275464. That's 08084275464. Ask any question heart related, because today you need to know all about your heart. Now, you were mentioning high lipids, which is cholesterol levels, we call it here, as one of the interventional cardiology stuff. Let me try as much as possible to break it down so that people can understand. And rightly so, you said it wasn't our issue years ago. Why is it our issue now? What are we doing wrong?
A lot of things are wrong presently when we look at how life was lived by our ancestors, our great-grandfathers. A lot has changed, and we in sub-Saharan Africa, third world countries, we have quickly changed our way of life to be Western. Yeah, so I will list some of those things that has led to increase, in cardiovascular disease. One, we have sedentary lifestyle. In the past, we know people walk distances, do things themselves. But today, a lot of people are sedentary, no exercise. Yes. Then we have problem of salt intake. Salt is part of diet, but research has proven and has shown that high level of salt has a very strong role in increasing cardiovascular disease, particularly hypertension, which is the greatest driver of cardiovascular disease, and it's majorly our problem. Then we also have issues of smoking, tobacco smoking, or any other thing people smoke. Alcohol use is also a problem. High level of stress. Yes, it could be physical, emotional stress. They are all stress. The body understands them the same way. And then our diets has largely changed. We take a lot of refined, processed food, no raw, original, fresh food. They are less on our tables. We take a lot of high cholesterol diets, high sugar diets, high.
This person is insisting. I will come back to that. This person, let me say, hello, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah,
yes. Speak out and tell us your name or where you're calling from.
Peter, calling from Cardi.
Right. So, Peter, you have a question for the cardiologist?
Are you with me?
Yes, do you have a question for the cardiologist?
Calling from Cardi. Does the heart do overheat?
Does the heart do overheat? Okay, thank you, Peter. The cardiologist will answer you. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, I think that word is a layman word. Probably I can transfer it. I know in the lay world, overheat applies to engine, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The heart is like an engine too. So in a way, I will agree, though I will not call it overheat. Yeah, there are situations where the heart seems to work too much beyond what is necessary. Maybe that will be likened to that overheat. So there are disease conditions, where the heart can be working unnecessarily high. Example, let's say, when the heart is beating so fast, unnecessarily fast, that's a form of being an overheat state, and it's a disease state of the heart.
Right.
Yeah, so it's possible.
Extra speed on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM, and of course we are looking at International Day for Interventional Cardiology, looking at causes and prevention of cardiovascular diseases. These are heart-related diseases, and we have a cardiologist in the studio with us today, Dr. Vincent Shidali. and of course it's answering your question. So when you were mentioning the reasons why we are where we are, change of lifestyle, you mentioned processed foods, you were mentioning tobacco and alcohol and all of that, and these are things that people are doing every day, so processed foods, let's assume that not everybody knows what processed foods are. Can you mention the commonest ones that both the poor and the rich people are consuming?
I think one good example of foods that are processed are things that are canned. Canned food are processed, so there are a lot of them. Yes, and then when a food harvested from the farm goes through processes, and they don't come to you directly. They have gone through industrial process. You understand? Sometimes these industrial processes modify them. For example, when maize goes through industrial process, the fibers are removed. And those fibers are very important. God designed it so that you eat alongside with the fibers. You have to protect your system. So by the time it goes through industrial process, those fibers are out. So you just have the fine components of that maize. And then, you don't get the best from it. Rather, it leaves you with some consequences health-wise.
Yeah. So it also means that instead of me to carry my corn and just mill it myself, and I'm rather buying the one that is processed and is sold to me in a pack, that is not as healthy as the one I'm eating. But the problem is people feel like they will be regarded as poor people, so they want to eat what their neighbor is eating. What about things like noodles and all that? They're all processed. That is what it
they're
means.
all processed. I think it's a wrong mindset to feel that when you eat fresh food you are poor. Rather, I feel we have to change that mindset, because those in the villages who eat those things, some of them live much longer. They are very healthy. They don't have access to the care we have. All the same, they live probably longer than us and all that. So it's a mindset that needs to be changed. And even out there in the Western nations, where there are, where you go to supermarkets and there are real natural food products, the ones that have not been tampered with, they tend to go for a higher price than
That's
those
true.
that are organic and all that. So I think that mentality is very wrong.
Okay, it's Extra Speed on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM. Today's International Day for Interventional Cardiology. So it's about the heart-related diseases. So you can call now 08084 275464. 08084 275464. We are also streaming live on Facebook, and we're online at askingradio.com. So tell your friends, family members to listen in and call and ask the cardiologist all the questions that they need to ask about the heart now. 08084 275464. That's 08084 275464. Now, Dr. Vincent Shidali, some of these heart-related illnesses or diseases, most of them, do they have symptoms, or most of them are just silent? Because I hear they're silent killers. Do they have symptoms?
Yeah. If you permit me, let me put something in perspective before I answer this question. Being that we're talking about the International Day for Interventional Cardiology, I just want to viewers to understand, our listeners to understand, interventional cardiology with the background of cardiology. Interventional cardiology is a higher platform of cardiology as a specialty. Interventional cardiology is a recent subdivision of cardiology that emerged as a solution to cardiovascular problems that hitherto has been responsible for a lot of mortality and deaths, particularly in the Western nation. So in interventional cardiology, you do something unique where you intervene most times in an emergency format to save lives when some particular category of cardiovascular diseases occur. Particularly ischemic heart disease, the commonest language I will use for that is what we call heart attack. Heart attack is not something that gives you time. So interventional cardiology, like the name goes, helps to intervene to save the life. Yeah, so this day was initiated to remember the discovery of how there can be intervention to the heart when there is such sudden event. And the first person who attempted this did this in 1977. Yes. So it's just 2 years ago they decided to use this day to market. Yeah. So there are particular aspects of cardiology that needs interventional cardiology to handle such conditions. So
not all.
Not all. Like we said, ischemic heart disease where somebody has an heart attack. Where people have valvular heart disease or where there are congenital heart disease. Commonly, these are the aspects where interventional cardiology plays a role.
So for our listener, let's say they don't even know which is which.
Yes,
so that is open for anything.
Yes, that's why I have to clarify.
Exactly.
Yes.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
My name is Captain Edward.
Good morning, Captain Edward.
Why is it that sometimes somebody will feel heart pain? Your heart will just pain you. I don't know the cause. What is the cause of that?
The doctor will answer you. Okay, he said sometimes just feel heart pain. What is the cause of that? I know it's a difficult one. Okay, just go on.
Yes, I think we would like to correct this. When people say they have heart pain, it's difficult to say you have heart pain. I think at best you should say I have chest pain. Yes, because within the chest, the heart is there, the lungs are there, the rib is there, the what do you call it now? The blood vessels are there, the trachea. So there are a lot of things within the chest. So you can't say you have heart pain, so you have chest pain. And one of the things to suspect when there is a chest pain is whether the heart is involved. And the heart is the most critical to be concerned about when somebody has a chest pain. That is why, as a rule, if an adult has a chest pain, you try and give attention to the heart and be sure the heart is not responsible for that pain. Once you're able to exclude that, then you can now take a sigh of relief and then sort out whatever is there. So usually we encourage people to do an ECG. An ECG looks at the activities of the heart, in short, such that if there is something life-threatening, the ECG is likely to give you a sign that something serious is happening. So chest pain, yes, is a common problem that characterizes cardiovascular diseases. And when you have that, please go to the hospital, get an ECG.
That was what I wanted to ask, but there's another caller here. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Emeka on the line.
Morning, Emeka.
Yes, last week you were not on air. You were just discussing about rural development.
Today we are looking at the hearts.
I understand. We are looking about the heart attack, about the heart. My major problem is that, you see, so many people die these days. You will just hear that somebody was walking or somebody slept. He cannot wake up. Or somebody was just walking, his heart just followed him. And that is the death of the person. I'm trying to ask I think that is the doctor also.
Yes, it's a cardiologist. Yes, go ahead, Anas.
Yeah. So I want to find out from him, what are the symptoms? What will show you the sign? Because this one that somebody will just get up, you hear that his heart has fell, and the person become a dead person instantly. I want to know what are the symptoms to show. Because before you have that heart attack that will lead to your death, to lead to somebody's death, there must be a symptom that will come up. And that if there is a symptom, what are the ways for us to prevent those type of deaths?
All right.
So that because this type of death these days, majority of people who die these days is heart failure.
All right.
So I want to know.
Let him answer you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sudden heart attack, and he wants to know if there should be symptoms according to him.
Yes, I think that will lead us to answer the other question you asked earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, first, we encourage people to check themselves rather than focusing on symptoms. Yeah, because the first symptom may be that death.
Wow.
The first symptom may be a stroke. The first symptom can be anything catastrophic. So first, we don't encourage you focusing on symptom first. As an adult, there are basic things you have to check from time to time so that you get to know. Like the commonest problem, cardiovascular problem we have around is hypertension. And it is typically called the silent killer. Why? Because somebody can be walking on the street with a blood pressure of 200 over 150, he will not feel anything. So until you check, you will not know. So that is the first thing I would love to say. Then secondly, yes, there may be symptoms giving you signs. And one of the symptoms may be what we just talked about, chest pain, chest discomfort, what people call ulcer these days. Once somebody has chest discomfort, he feels his ulcer, he keeps on taking ulcer drug and all that. So that is one of the commonest things that may happen. Another thing that may happen is you may feel your heart beating violently. You know, you become conscious of the beating of your heart. That's also a problem. If you notice, you get tired easily. You just walk a short distance, you are catching your breath. I think something significant has happened already to be having that kind of symptom. Leg swelling, facial swelling, you know, you wake up, you feel dizzy, you are not stable, then later you get yourself, you continue. No, you have to check yourself. Sometimes it may also affect your vision, affect how frequent you urinate, you know, all those things when you feel them, it's possible it is linked to your heart. And then when disease is advanced, most times other things start happening. Some people can faint transiently. Some people can have the whole body swelling. Like I said, difficulty in breathing. They may have banging headaches and all that. So there are milder things first, and then check yourself as an adult to be sure that you're not having any of these conditions because they are common. Like hypertension, in this part of the world, 4 out of every adult is hypertensive.
Wow, that's scary.
Yes. So, and a lot of them are on the streets. They don't know. They go to bed. Some don't wake up. Some have sudden, heart attack. Some have stroke. You can be giving a speech on the podium and then you fall down and that's it.
Yeah,
you can have a fatal stroke. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these things are common. And we have a mindset of sometimes attributing these things to spiritual attacks, which is very wrong. I think people need to sit up, especially those who are enlightened and educated. Yeah, they should look at things from the right perspective. You check yourself, you discover this problem. You don't just assume all will be well. It's an attack, and and all that. Yeah, so that's the reason why some of these things happen. If there is opportunity to ask some of those people, some of them have had signs to suggest that all is not well. Some of them know they are hypertensive. Some of them know they are diabetic. Just that they've not given it attention before that will happen.
Yeah.
So that's the truth.
It is Extra Speed on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM Makurdi, and today is International Day for Interventional Cardiology. But we have a cardiologist here, and he is Dr. Vincent Shidali, Cardio Point Clinic, Makurdi. Well, it's about the heart, so we are not restricting it to interventional cardiology. Anything about heart, heart-related diseases, which, as obvious as it is, a lot of people don't even know what's happening. So you can ask those questions now. We have so many questions to ask, but I think you should ask. Will you call 08084 275464? That's 08084 275464. Ask the questions now. Now, Dr. Shidali, there are things about, going for checks. When we hear medical checkup, and everybody or most people feel it's just the rich man's thing. Is this the rich man's thing, or poor people can also go for medical checkup?
Yeah, it would be wrong to think it's a rich man's thing, because it's not only the rich man that dies or falls sick. Yeah, I know it's about the financial implication, but it's not enough to just be alive, but to be healthy. And there's nobody who wants to die prematurely. So it's for everybody. And you mustn't do the outrightly expensive one. There are basics, you know. When you handle something at its primitive stage, it's cheaper. So it's when you wait that you may not have to, do some very, very expensive things. So there are basic things you can do as, even as poor people. There are some basic ones you can still do, like checking your blood sugar. In fact, checking your blood pressure, does it cost anything?
No, it's not.
No, you don't pay anything most times. So those are the things. But there are people who don't do that. So it's not about the rich people. It's for everybody. As far as you are an adult, you're an adult. Yes.
So we mentioned lipids. Maybe you want to ask something.
Yes, I wanted to ask a question when Emeka called and he was talking about symptoms. And the doctor was mentioning at times people feel constant headache, dizziness and all of that. But at a country here in Nigeria, there's a way we perceive these things. Maybe most people would be like, okay, I'm having headache, and they might just attribute that to malaria, you understand, or something like that. Or even when you go to the hospital, the first thing they do is just to ask you if you have a mosquito net. And once you say you don't have, they just assume it's malaria and they just treat you for that. So I want to ask, at what point should someone be concerned that, no, this is beyond malaria, and go for a checkup for the heart or something?
Okay. I think the responsibility too also lies on the healthcare giver. Once somebody presents in the hospital, you shouldn't get out of that place with the wrong intervention or measures. Yeah. So yes, headache can result from any other thing, even from mere stress. You can have headache, like what do you call it? The advert we say when they advertise paracetamol, if your symptom persists after 3 days, you see a doctor. Yeah. So when headache becomes persistent, then it tells you that it's not ordinary. And when you go to hospital, it is duty bound on the healthcare provider to check your blood pressure. High blood pressure is one of the commonest causes of headache, persistent headache, dizziness, inability to sleep. So it would be wrong to attribute every headache to malaria, typhoid. That's not the only disease we have around.
Exactly.
And this has led to the deaths of many people when you assume it is malaria, typhoid, and all that. Yes, there are more serious problems that can present with headache. So we need to have more exhaustive evaluation of our patients. At least you do a blood pressure check, you do a sugar check, you understand, besides doing malaria check. Malaria is a disease that you can even treat without coming to hospital, you understand. Yes, so it's not everything that is malaria, and malaria cannot be the only sickness that somebody always have. We need to look inwards. We need to look inward the more to unravel some of these things that people have and are being misdiagnosed and considered to be headache, to be typhoid. Actually, malaria, typhoid, they are fevers. And when you say something is a fever, the temperature rises. So people you don't have fever, you keep on treating malaria. Malaria is a fever. Typhoid is a fever. It's not just headache that constitutes malaria. Though we encourage people, do a rapid malaria test. Understand? Once it is positive, you treat, because we are living in malaria endemic zone. Yes, but it's important to check further. Once you see an adult.
Okay.
So the other thing is, you mentioned also, I know that even some federal hospitals are guilty because I actually walked into a hospital and I complained of upper back pain, and the doctor instantly told me it was ulcer, and I was a little bit disappointed because
you expected more than that.
Exactly, I expected investigation, but he said ulcer and prescribed drugs, which I don't think I took. So these are some of the issues, but beyond this, I was asking you, when we're talking of high lipids, let's just say cholesterol. Even at cholesterol level, I don't think people know what it is, and I don't think people have actually gone to test their lipid profile. So what is cholesterol? What is high cholesterol? What is bad cholesterol? What is good cholesterol? And what should people do?
Okay. Now, cholesterol is, in a simple way, we put it as fat in the blood, and mostly derived from foods that contain high level of fats and oil. The body, in some ways, also manufacture some cholesterol because cholesterol is important in the body functioning baseline. However, it has some negative effects and consequences, especially when the levels are high. And so that is why it is important to check the level. And usually when we check cholesterol level, we split them into its different components. It would be wrong to just do total cholesterol and leave it there. No. Whenever you do a cholesterol check, it has to be broken down for you to see the different components. Because we describe some of them as bad cholesterol and good cholesterol. The ones that are good cholesterol, we actually want them to be high in the body because it is beneficial for the functioning of the body system. While the ones we tag as bad cholesterol, we expect them to go very low because their presence in the body portends danger, usually resulting in what we call ischemic heart disease, for which interventional cardiology is the best way to solve when the problem is at its worst stage. So for ordinary people, I think it's important to check your cholesterol level to be sure. Again, I have to say this because when ischemic heart disease advances, it becomes difficult to handle, particularly in this part of the world. Like we talk about interventional cardiology, it is not available to us. It is in recent time, in the last 10 years or thereabout, that we start having pockets of 1, 2, 3 interventional cardiologists in Nigeria. As we speak, you can get those services in Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt. Basically, those are places you can get these things readily. And problems that have to do with interventional cardiology needs urgent attention. So sometimes before you arrive, you may not be alive. Get it? So cholesterol, problems that result from cholesterol are problems that when they are advanced, one, the solution is not readily available. Two, they are very expensive. To do what we call an angiogram now, you need over about $1 million. Just a tests, not the solution. You understand?
Wow.
So usually we encourage people, when you have cholesterol issues, let it be handled so that it doesn't cause problem. Because when it causes problem, you may not be privileged to access care immediately. Two, if you are privileged, you are living where there is care, you may not have the money to be able to get such intervention. So earlier phase of cholesterol-related problems are one, lifestyle change. Two, if there is need to go on medication, you go on medication, you take it daily. Understand? And then you continue follow up, to be monitored. Now, all these measures helps at arresting the disease process. That if you don't arrest it, once it advances, it becomes a difficult problem to handle. That is the truth. As it stands in Nigeria, if somebody has an heart attack, even inside a hospital, it is likely you will not survive.
Yeah.
Because the hospital there may not have the facility to handle you. So it is better you take care of those problems that will end up as heart attack. You take care of them in their primordial states, in the early phase of disease, and you tame it by changing your lifestyle, take your medication, control your blood pressure, control your blood sugar, avoid smoking, avoid alcohol, avoid sedentary lifestyle. These are all basics.
So there's all these things that they're sounding like basic, but they are almost okay. You can stop smoking. You can stop drinking alcohol. Sedentary lifestyle. Would you tell a banker, for instance, not to do sedentary lifestyle?
Yes. A banker has to make out time for him to be alive and continue his job. He has to make out time. Actually, we categorize these risk factors as modifiable and non-modifiable. There are some you can modify. The fact that you are a black man, hypertension is a common problem among the black race, you can modify it. as far as you come from a family where your father was hypertensive and diabetic, there's nothing you can do about it. That genetic component you may be sharing as part of it. The fact that you are a male, you can't change it because it happened earlier in male than in female. You cannot change it. You understand? So those are non-modifiable factors.
So the other thing I was, as Mmemshima and I were discussing about genes and all of that, and I was saying that, okay, assuming that your father never had it, but you are a chronic drunk, alcoholic, and your lifestyle is just very unhealthy, and then you have... That's not about gene, right? It's not going to necessarily be your son who now lives a healthier and better lifestyle. It's not going to be, right?
Yes. These diseases are not entirely genetic. We describe them as being multifactorial. You may have a genetic tendency based on your family history.
Yes.
But if other factors that play important role to allow that genetics to manifest are handled early in life, that genetics will not manifest. So it is important you know the possibilities based on your family background. Your parents, are they hypertensive? Are they diabetic? Did any of them die from stroke or die from heart attack? That tells you that you may be sharing part of that. Then other factors now that are modifiable. Now it's now your responsibility to begin to work on that. And it's perfectly possible. Yes. Because some of us who have parents down in the village, they live in natural environments that did not allow a genetic tendency they have to express. Now you living in the city, you're a sedentary, you're smoking, you understand? You live a very stressful life and all that. What did not manifest in your parents may end up manifesting in you. And then we hear people say, my parents never had anything like this. My father died at 100, my mother is 90, and all this stuff. It's because other factors that will have helped these diseases to be expressed were not part of their life. Yes. So, but for you, these things are all around you, and so these diseases can manifest.
You want to ask?
Yeah, I'm concerned as a mother. I think I'm concerned about children. Do you really think there are things that we are doing wrong, like what we give to our children at this stage? Do you think we should try and adjust the lifestyle for our children? Because you find us mothers giving our children refined foods, especially because of the way they eat, and we get tired and we want them to just snack on something. Do you think these things will affect them?
Yeah, we cannot completely exclude the influence of what we do today to our children. There may not be hard evidence to that based on research, but definitely it cannot be the same with a child that is brought up not taking these things. We know children are still growing. So sometimes that gives them that a little bit of allowance to be able to take these things, and they are fine in their early ages. But subsequently, definitely is going to play out. Like we see children these days that are very big, they are actually obese. But they look more attractive.
Exactly.
Yes. When you see chubby children, you feel happy with them that they are feeding, but they are obese. Obesity is an illness. And in fact, it's one of the risk factors for developing cardiovascular disease. So I can say clearly that yes, the pattern of feeding and handling of children definitely will play out later in life. Yes, that's true.
Extra speed, and it's International Day for Interventional Cardiology, but we are not restricting that so that you just get to ask any questions about the heart and heart-related diseases. You can call now 08084 275464. That's 08084 275464. We have Dr. Vincent Shidali. He is of the CardioPoint Clinic in Makudi here. So any question now? We haven't got much time left, just about 15 more minutes for the program to be over. So call now and ask all your questions. We have so many. I think you will have to come back again. Every day should be an intervention. So 08084 275464. Now we talk about exercise, but I also say that during exercise, people slump and die. So what is wrong with exercising to keep your heart healthy?
Good. Exercise, like we say, we encourage it as part of the non-drug measures, of handling cardiovascular disease. Now, but you know that when you do exercise, you put your heart to task. Yes. And so sometimes people jump at doing exercise when they are not sure of the status of their hearts.
Yeah.
Like we say generally, okay, as hypertensives, it's also good to do exercise. Yeah, but when your blood pressure is not controlled and you are doing exercise, you are taking a big risk. Because by nature, the way the body physiology is designed, when you do exercise, you up the activities of the heart. So blood pressure goes up. Your heart rate goes up. You understand? Naturally, even if you don't have any problem.
Yes.
Yeah. So if the heart is not healthy, and then you put the heart under that pressure for the rate to go up, for the blood pressure to go up, then it will complain. And that complaint may be that if you just stop working.
Wow.
So that's where Peter, one of the callers, was talking about
overheating.
So that could just be overheating.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So before any form of exercise, it simply means they should see a cardiologist
First of all.
or just it must not be a cardiologist.
It must not necessarily be a cardiologist, except if you have been diagnosed particularly of having a heart disease, then you may have to opt to see a cardiologist. But basic checking your blood pressure, your blood sugar, to be sure that all these are fine. Any other person can attend to you and do that.
Right.
But if you have been diagnosed of a heart problem, then you need to see a specialist to define for you what level of exercise and at what time should you begin to engage in that exercise.
Hello, good morning.
God, sometimes you talk without listening. So this, somebody will call, and the card will be gone.
So
the doctor did not tell us where his hospital is here in Makodi. So that one day walk in there to check his heart and other this thing.
Okay.
Other disease.
All right. It's on the way to modern market.
Yeah,
What
let the
doctor
doctor
okay,
tell
let the
us
doctor
where
say
he
it.
is.
Because
Okay,
doctors tell him.
Okay.
He wants to know where your hospital is.
Cardio Point Medical is along Modern Market Road in one of the Makodi local government shops just by the roadside.
All right. So you heard that going to modern market, close there, you just see it on the right. That's what the doctor says. All right. So people, I see people go, they do road work, they do all those things, and then we don't see them with water. Is that right?
There's nothing really particular about carrying water. If you wish to carry, you can carry. If you wish to drink after the exercise, you can. It depends on how long you are going to be on that walk, and how much of fluid you are losing, depending on the weather also. But there's no hard and fast rule about it. You can carry, it helps a lot. But if you don't carry, it is important you take in a lot of water after the exercise because of fluid loss, yes.
Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM, catch us if you can, and it's Extra Speed International Day for Interventional Cardiology. We're marking this day, but of course we are just looking at all heart-related diseases. We have Dr. Vincent Shidali, Cardio Point Medicals in Makodi here. Maybe you have a question?
Well, I want to also look at our roadside food, if they are actually healthy for us to eat, because like you see with these our women that they always do this fish that they sell. At times when I see their they are all, and I'm like, wow, is this healthy enough? But you see people consuming them. So I don't know if you can clarify that is about our roadside food.
Talking about roadside food, I think besides the issue of being hygienic, the other concerns we have as it borders on cardiovascular disease is the oil usually used when it involves frying, particularly. Generally, we encourage that oil, whichever form you are using, they are used in their unfried states. The more you fry oil, the more you destroy them. It may be compulsory to fry once in a while. You do it and discard the oil or use the oil.
Okay.
But a situation where oil is used repeatedly to fry and kept and fried, it's not safe for the body, because that oil obviously has been destroyed, and when it gets into the body, it contributes to the cholesterol burden we just discussed about. So I think that's the much we'll say.
So at what age should people be bothered about going for ECG or lipids profile test?
Okay. Like we said earlier on, any adults, and then from the age of 18, we say people are adults. Yeah. So depending on whether there is a particular illness that borders on the heart or family history, one can do that much earlier, because there are people who have cardiovascular disease even right from childhood. There are people who are born with heart-related diseases into the world. So for those, it's a continuous thing. Also, women sometimes tend to develop hypertension during pregnancy, so it makes it common for them a bit earlier. Yes, to monitor themselves after delivery, whether the blood pressure is still high and all that. But as from 20s, it is not a bad idea, because I have seen a lot of young people, undergraduates with hypertension and all that. Yes,
that's serious.
We have this notion that hypertension is for those who are middle age and elderly. That's the idea of the of the developed nations. Other parts of the world, the Caucasians and all that, their story is different. It's commoner in them in middle age, elderly age range. But in this part of the world, we have seen hypertension among younger and younger people. So we advise, as from 20 and above, it's not a bad idea. You check yourself. Yes, you do. Sometimes when people are going for maybe getting admission, going for military trainings, at such point it becomes compulsory to do those things.
There's only time they check.
Yes, I will find out that some of them already have problems.
So going a step further, being a cardiologist and working here, what's the commonest heart disease around? I think you mentioned, but for sake of emphasis,
it's hypertension. Most heart problems we have comes from hypertension in this part of the world. Over 50% of our problems coming from hypertension.
So
you can trace it to hypertension.
Yeah, high blood pressure.
High blood pressure. Now, high blood pressure in simple terms means the pressure at which blood is flowing around your body is higher than normal. And once it is higher than normal, it puts the heart to task, the heart that is pumping it. It puts the organs where that blood is going to task, because the pressure at which the blood is arriving there is higher than normal. So it destroys that organ. That is why the kidney succumbs, the brain succumbs, the eye succumbs. And then the blood vessel carrying the blood is also under pressure, because the pressure at which the blood is flowing through it is high. So it traumatizes the blood vessel. So sometimes it leads to compromise of the blood vessel. So
it's beyond just the heart.
Yeah, it's beyond the heart.
Wow. So now I've seen that people who are already taking drugs, hypertensive drugs, they feel it's a license to do any other thing. They eat salt, they still drink alcohol, they do a whole lot of things. They don't exercise moderately. They're just relaxed. What do you have to tell them?
No, they need to understand that when a person is diagnosed hypertensive, the first measure is not drug, actually. There are non-drug ways of handling any disease, so it applies to hypertension. So we advise you, if the blood pressure is, let's say, 140/90, we tell you try to rest well, reduce salt in your food, do exercise, without giving you drugs. Now, when it is not properly controlled by these measures, and we have to bring drug on board, it does not mean that you should stop those measures. Those measures are lifestyle changes. In fact, if you are on medication and you continue, particularly taking high level of salt, you may discover your drug is not working, and you think the drug is not effective. No, it's because you are not compliant with other measures that go along with taking medication. So taking medication is not a license. Rather, all those things may frustrate, the benefit that one should have gotten from taking medication.
So let's say salt is the major culprit here, because some people are not taking alcohol, they're not taking tobacco, but they're taking high levels of salt because it's about taste, and they are adults, and it's difficult to control them now. But what should we say? What can we try to do to, educate them about salt?
Yeah, the issue of salt is just well, I say it's a mindset, because for those who have taken that step to avoid salt or to reduce salt, the next time you put adequate salt in their meal, they are not interested. So once you start doing it, you discover you are used to it. Yes. So it is not something that if you don't eat a lot of salt, maybe you become sick or your food you cannot eat food again. No, you can still eat. After all, we encourage people, you can use moderate amount of your seasoning also, because the seasonings also contain salt. But you still use that. You can use your local seasonings, which are not salty. Understand? So with all that, a lot of people are able to cope. And sometimes the whole family, they tell you, they don't bother about salt.
Yeah, it happens in my house. But when people come, some refuse to even eat in our house. They say that I don't like this your meal that you don't put salt. But we don't. We just like it, and we just decided, to just do that.
Yes.
So, you want to say something?
It's still the same thing we are saying. It's a choice.
Yes, exactly.
It's a choice to be healthy and to avoid life-threatening diseases. I think they need to understand that.
So for cholesterol or high lipids or the bad cholesterol, which is fat in the blood, basically lifestyle, but you also need fiber-rich foods, which is what you said. So what are the commonest foods that are here that you might just want to remind people that they should eat more?
Generally, in advising people about cardiovascular disease, we emphasize you take fruits and vegetables. That's what we call DASH diets that helps in the setting of hypertension, cardiovascular disease. DASH diet means dietary approach to stop hypertension, and that diet consists of high amounts of fruits, vegetables of all forms, you understand, and then foods low in salt and high in potassium.
Wow, that's another one. So some fruits have salt.
No, not foods.
Okay, foods. Okay,
yes,
foods. Okay, foods. Yeah,
low in salt.
Yes,
but high in potassium.
Potassium.
Actually, there are some other forms of salt that are not common for us here, which are potassium salts. The salt we know commonly that we eat are sodium salts. Actually, the problem is sodium.
Yes.
Okay.
So where you can access potassium salt, then it's safer.
Once you are sure of it.
Yes.
Yeah, once you're sure of it, because sodium is actually the culprit, but it's so much in our salt. That is where the problem is. So if you've been listening and few things you can do, that's what you should do about your heart for it to be healthy. We've been looking at International Day for Interventional Cardiology, but all emphasis on cardiovascular diseases. And Dr. Vincent Shidali of Cardio Point Medicals in Makudi has been our guest. Time is running fast, but one more thing: what should people do? No symptoms. People listening to us today, is it too late in the day? It's just tonight. Can they walk into a hospital? What should they go and check first now as we're talking?
The first thing to check is their blood pressure. They should also check their what we call BMI, body mass index. That will tell you whether you are normal weight, whether you are overweight, whether you are obese. The other thing to check is your blood sugar. These are low hanging. They almost don't cost you anything serious. Once you do this regularly, basics, you discover that nothing so serious will happen without you knowing. Other things you may now need to check, like we say, cholesterol test is a bit more expensive. You do an ECG, it's a bit more expensive. You check your urine. That is almost not even expensive. Also check what we call urinalysis. Also very important. Now, when you do these things, they all serve as windows into your cardiovascular health. There is no how you have a major issue that bothers your cardiovascular health that one or two of these investigations will not flag it.
Right.
Yes.
So at this point, we'll say thank you very much for coming on Extra Speed, Dr. Vincent Shidali.
Yes,
All right. So it's just to say bye. Time is up. See you tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah.
As King Radio 98.5 Speed FM. Catch us if you can.
She he gon' ka ho atank yin pepe. Number